It starts with a face. A man looking straight into the camera, smiling as if nothing in the world could be wrong. His voice steady, polite, almost gentle. But behind that smile, behind those soft-spoken words, hid one of the darkest secrets in American criminal history. I want to date. I want to socially meet a number of women. Back then, in the early 1980s, home video dating tapes were considered harmless fun, a way for strangers to meet before social media existed. Viewers saw an ordinary bachelor, charming, well-dressed, slightly awkward. What they didn't see was a serial predator hiding in plain sight. What they didn't know was that he was already stalking his next victim. And nobody, not the women he filmed, not the pageant judges standing beside him, not even the police following his trail, understood the scale of the nightmare forming behind the lens. Because this man wasn't just looking for love, he was hunting, and the only person who could expose him was a 16-year-old girl who was supposed to be dead. This is the story of Tina, Dawn, and Linda, 3 girls whose courage shattered a monster's illusion. 3 girls who stopped a man who believed he would never be caught. A man who thought he had gotten away with everything, until one of his victims came back from the dead. It's March 20th, 1984, Tallahassee, Florida. 19-year-old Linda steps into Governor's Square Mall like she has 100 times before. She's the reliable friend, the honor student, the girl with a steady boyfriend and a life stretched out beautifully ahead of her. The kind of girl who plans her future in neat, hopeful rows. She has no idea a predator has already chosen her. When she vanishes, it takes just hours before her loved ones feel something is wrong. By dawn, police are circulating her name through 3 counties. By mid-morning, Linda is found wandering barefoot into a motel lobby 40 miles away, shaking, bruised, barely breathing. A sheriff's deputy races in. Her voice trembles. A man kidnapped me and tortured me. Investigators flood the motel room she escaped from. Blood on the carpet, tape on the floor, the unmistakable signs of a fight for survival. But Linda survived, and her survival changes everything. Because when detectives in Miami hear her describe her attacker, a tall man with a beard, charming, well-dressed, the room falls silent. They've heard this description before. Twice. 2 young women, Rosario Gonzalez at the Miami Grand Prix and Elizabeth Kenyon at the Miss Florida pageant, both vanished within days of each other, both seen near the same man, a photographer, a race car driver, a drifter who changes identities like outfits. His name is Christopher Wilder, and now the FBI is involved. When detectives show Linda a stack of photographs, she doesn't hesitate. She points straight to him. The monster has a face, and he's already hundreds of miles away. Driving, hunting, planning his next move. Every day he remains free. Another woman disappears. The FBI is outmatched. Wilder moves faster than jurisdiction, faster than paperwork, faster than fear. Then a miracle. A survivor's testimony spreads across the state, reaching investigators who've been trying to connect the dots for weeks. Suddenly the scattered shadows form a shape. Wilder is a serial killer crossing state lines. He is killing every 2 to 3 days. He is escalating. But the FBI still doesn't know something crucial. Wilder has already found his next target. A girl who won't just survive him. She will expose him. It's April 4th, 1984, Torrance, California. 16-year-old Tina is walking through a mall looking for a summer job when a well-dressed man approaches her with a smile and an offer to become a model. That's how he always starts. Tina disappears that same afternoon. What follows is 9 days of terror, days that blur into endless motel rooms, locked doors, threats whispered in the dark. I've killed before. Don't make me kill you. But Tina isn't like the others. She watches, she waits, she learns. Every mile, every silence, every twitch of his hands. She studies him because she knows one thing: she cannot outfight him. She cannot outrun him. She must outthink him. And she does. She learns what makes him angry, what calms him, when he's careless, when he's distracted, and slowly, she becomes the one thing he never expected. Someone who understands him. It's the only way she stays alive. On day 7, Wilder forces Tina into the unthinkable, helping him find his next victim. That's how Dawn enters the nightmare. A teenage girl in a mall, a polite stranger, a promise of modeling, a walk to the parking lot. Then darkness. Dawn wakes in a motel room, her wrists bound, her body bruised, the door lock ripped out so she can't escape. But Dawn isn't just another victim, she's a fighter. And she will not die quietly. When Wilder attacks her in the woods near the Finger Lakes, he believes she's done for. But Dawn crawls, bleeding half-conscious, toward the sunlight breaking through the trees. A truck driver finds her on the road, barely alive, but she is alive. And what she reveals to police becomes the first true breakthrough. A name, a car, a girl, Tina, still trapped with him. Suddenly, the FBI is ahead of Wilder, for the first time. Meanwhile, media outlets begin reporting that Wilder has an accomplice, a young woman seen with him at several locations. They're talking about Tina, but Tina has no idea she's being accused. No idea the world thinks she was helping him. No idea her mother has gone on TV, begging for her return. When Tina sees her mother's face on a motel room television, something inside her breaks, and something new forms in its place. A spark, a reminder of who she is, a reminder that she still has a life worth fighting for. And Wilder senses it. He becomes erratic, frantic, unpredictable. He kills a woman for her car. The first victim he murders without ritual, without manipulation, without even trying to hide his intent. A mother named Beth Dodge. He is unraveling. And when predators unravel, they make mistakes. Then something happens no one expects. Wilder lets Tina go. He drives her to Boston Airport, buys her a ticket, hands her $1,000, and tells her to pay for her own flight so she leaves no trace tied to him. And then, he simply walks away. Not because he felt empathy, not because he cared, but because for the first time Wilder is afraid. Tina has become the one thing he cannot control, and losing control terrifies him more than death. When the FBI finally locates him in New Hampshire, the chase is over in seconds. Gunfire erupts. A trooper is wounded. Wilder reaches for his weapon and ends his own life. 47 days, 12 abductions, 8 confirmed murders. Countless families destroyed, all stopped because 3 women refused to die. In the aftermath, the media praises Linda and Dawn, their strength, their escapes, their heroism. But Tina, she is questioned, blamed, misunderstood. Why didn't she run? Why didn't she scream? Why didn't she fight sooner? Questions asked by people who have never been trapped with a serial killer. People who don't understand survival psychology. People who don't understand coercion, trauma, or the instinct to stay alive at all costs. And then, finally, Captain Jim Pop holds a press conference. He looks the nation in the eye and says the truth out loud. It is the opinion of our investigators that Tina Marie Rizzico has been a victim throughout all 9 days of terror. At last, someone believes her. Today, the women have built lives far beyond the shadows of those days. Linda honors the girls who didn't survive by living fully. Dawn raises her children with the strength she earned in the woods. Tina learns to reclaim her voice, her identity, her truth. And the story that began with a man smiling into a camera ends with the women whose courage exposed him. But even after Wilder's death, the case didn't truly end, because the aftermath, the trauma, the investigations, the unanswered questions, lasted far longer than the man who caused them. For investigators, the most haunting question wasn't how Wilder committed his crimes, but how many victims there really were. 8 confirmed murders, 12 known abductions. But Wilder had traveled across more than a dozen states, often staying in motels under false names, taking photographs of hundreds of women, and slipping in and out of communities without anyone remembering he was ever there. The FBI would quietly admit years later that they suspected the real number was far higher. There were missing girls whose timelines aligned with Wilder's travel routes. Unidentified remains found near highways he frequently drove. Reports of a photographer approaching young women in malls long before Tina or Dawn ever crossed his path. And yet, without direct evidence, these cases weren't officially connected. That's the terrifying truth about serial predators. Their footprint rarely ends where the files do. For the survivors, The freedom from Wilder did not mean the freedom from their memories. Every interview, every courtroom, every news broadcast forced them to relive moments they had fought to escape. But they kept talking anyway, because their words didn't just solve a case, they prevented future ones. Criminologists studied the Wilder case for years, focusing not on the killer, but on the women who survived him. How they assessed danger, how they adapted, how they fought without weapons, how they endured. Tina's psychological strategy, mirroring him, reading his emotions, calculating the safest possible responses, became a case study in survival under extreme threat. Therapists analyzed her resilience. FBI profilers used her interactions to refine behavioral models. Academics wrote papers about how victims can resist in ways that don't look like resistance at all. And slowly, something shifted. A new understanding, a new empathy. Survival isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, invisible, strategic. Sometimes it looks like obedience from the outside, but on the inside, it is a fight for life. Years later, when Tina was finally asked what she remembered most, not about Wilder, but about herself, her answer wasn't what anyone expected. "I didn't think I was brave," she said. "I just wanted to go home." But that's the truth of every survival story. Bravery isn't always dramatic. It isn't always defiant. It isn't always cinematic. Sometimes bravery is simply a heartbeat that refuses to stop. And that heartbeat, Linda's, Dawn's, Tina's, helped end one of the darkest crime sprees in American history. The monster died, but the survivors lived. And in the world of true crime, that is the closest thing to justice some stories ever get. In the end, Wilder didn't lose because the police caught him. He lost because his victims refused to stay silent. He lost because survival is louder than fear. He lost because the truth, eventually, always claws its way to the light. Justice didn't catch him. His victims did, and their story will outlive him forever.